guys, welcome back to Resistance Chicks. We're your hosts, Leah and Michelle. I cannot get enough of that intro made by ELTV Real. Thank you again for doing that. You guys are awesome. So it is the, I gotta look.
11th.
The 11th, thank you. I was getting to that. You'll have to move, there's some more white screen if Patriot Gallery wants to come down the stairs. Just scroll down. Nope, not gonna be good enough. Nope. Yeah, there's so many pictures. We're gonna go over all of those in a second. Patriot Gallery can't, there you go. Go ahead, Mom. Come down the stairs. If there's a black background, you all will see her ghost-like figure.
Actually, I think you need the black.
No, you don't want the black. Trust me.
I saw the ghost like.
Today is the 11th of April, 2021. We are leaving in 3 days to go to the Health and Freedom Conference by Clay Clark at Leah's alma mater at Rhema Bible Training Center. You just call it college for ease. You're an evangelist. You are one. You are one. You're doing it right now as we speak.
What is evangelizing? Yeah.
What is evangelizing? Spreading the good news. We got good news for you today and some bad news. Prince Philip, but I don't know. Here's the deal. Just because somebody dies, I don't think that has to be. You can celebrate their life and it can be like, wow, he was 99.
99.
That's kind of, to me, good news.
Yeah, so... this is if you're just joining us, this is our European and world news show we do every Sunday, starting around 1:30, and wherever
ish
around the world. And we're very excited to always just pick pieces of what's going on around the world. Off the top of my head, though, I want to put a shout out. You guys maybe remember when we were interviewed, we became good friends with a Polish YouTube TV channel called Podprod. It means against the tide.
Going against the tide.
Going against the tide. And their Pastor Kochecki, he is actually under investigation for anti-Catholic sentiment and speaking against the Prime Minister and faces 5 years in jail.
You're kidding me.
No. And so... they would like for us, and I'm hoping I will, to send them a photo, sending hashtag I stand with Pastor Kochecki, and then they will add that and they will put that up.
Awesome.
And so that is disappointing to me. For Poland, you can't just have free speech one way, Poland. And that's the point. Okay? Where the left says, well, no, we're going to silence these people that we don't like. And you can't say in Poland... because Poland is a Catholic country, and we love that they love Jesus, and we love that they make Christ king.
Poland, you're not a theocracy.
You don't get to, in that, not allow for other forms of Christianity and other forms of religion. So I wanted to throw that out there and keep Pastor Kochecki in your prayers. So I didn't know much about Prince Philip. Gonna be honest. Dude was just the old guy. For the longest time, I didn't even know Queen Elizabeth was married.
That's disappointing, actually. I think
she was married to.
This is good for me because I knew that she was married, and I don't know a lot of things.
I mean, like my whole life.
No, I knew my whole life. I always knew that she was married. So my whole life, there aren't a lot of things like around the world or even here in the States that I know that Leah doesn't know. So let me have one.
Okay, you can have it. Whatever.
Thank you.
And there's a reason why we here in America don't know much about him. And it's funny because he even calls himself the world's most experienced plaque unveiler. And
what in the world?
Yeah, so it's a very interesting life. He actually is of a royal line, Greek. And what was it, guys? What was it? Oh, tell me in the comments. I had it in my head. I had all this whole thing in my head.
Oh, good job.
I know. But is it Spain? I'm just put that out there.
You think he's Spanish?
I don't know. It's something. It's another European, whatever. So, anyways, Elizabeth is his first cousin once removed.
Move that little thing off of there. There you go.
First cousin once removed.
Hang on, wait a minute, really?
Yeah.
I think I remember that from being a kid because they always talked about the ears.
First cousin once removed.
Of, what's his name?
And which is very interesting to me
Charles.
that she's in the Britain English.
How do you be a first cousin once removed, by the way? What's the once removed?
I don't know. That's what they just say.
Wait a minute.
First cousin once removed.
Because I got some first cousins. I would never marry a first cousin. I wouldn't marry any kind of cousin, even once removed or 10 times removed. We're not from Kentucky. But...
Right. So, let me... Okay. We got a lot of show.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm just so stuck.
Okay. I'm going to get you out of there. He started to write her when he was 18 and she was 13. And I'm guessing it was some arranged, why don't you get to know your first cousin once removed type thing.
I'm really
She's
struggling
in line.
here. I'm so
She's
struggling.
in line to be queen one day.
Sean
this
says
would be
it's
a good-
Danish.
Danish. That's what it was. Danish. Thank you.
Your cousin's kid. Oh! Oh no! Wait a minute, Sean, are you kidding me here? I can't breathe. Okay. All right, we're gonna go with it. You know what? It's fine. It's royalty. They get away with some stuff.
Oh, shoot.
Dude,
Oh, shoot.
dang.
Oh, shoot.
Hang on, wait.
Yeah.
In Bible times, they did this. But you know why they did this in Bible times? Because the blood lines, like, it wasn't
was
as
less
diluted.
people.
You know what I'm
was a
saying?
lot of
There was
less-
less people.
less
We had
people.
stronger elements in our DNA, getting back to more primal, kind of like the wolf.
Okay, we're moving on.
I'm still struggling.
I know. Okay.
All right.
So he actually goes into the Navy, the Royal Navy. He becomes a commander.
Okay.
And he is envisioning himself in a long naval career. And they get married about 10 years later. Okay, it's a decent ages here. But a few years after that, her dad dies. And she ascends to the throne. Mm-hmm. And then that enter in Prince Plaque Unveiler. So from that point on, pretty much, he has to just like be her shadow. The consort. He is the longest reigning English consort. He is the first man.
He's the first man.
He's the first dude. But I think what makes his life more interesting is the fact that he was very politically incorrect. So Michelle, you can bring up the Outsiders video here, Sky News Australia, and where
She's got a basket. Scroll down to the bottom again.
scrolling
going.
down, rolling.
Keep
Mom.
going. Keep
If
going
I do that,
faster.
they probably can't see.
No, just go.
Keep going, Mom.
No,
just stop.
keep going,
Mom.
Leah.
Mom.
Leah, okay, go.
Mom, go.
I love our show. You can't get this kind of show anywhere else. She's got a giant basket of laundry. Leah's making her stand around. Okay, I'm pulling up something. What the heck am I pulling up? Is this one? No, that's Trumpy.
It's the Outsiders from Sky News. It's probably going to be on the ones on the left.
A Breitbart?
No, it's a video. I said a video. Do you know what a video is?
Leah. Oh, I see something. Not that one.
No, wait. Where is the one? Where's the one that had his funny moments? He was shoot.
Well, why don't I play a different one while you look for that one?
Okay, play the climate one.
Which one?
It's
Just find
whichever
it.
one it says climate.
Shh, calm down.
There we go.
Okay. My goodness. Wait a minute. No, it's not. I haven't switched over for them yet.
Okay. So it turns out, I'm going to preference this.
Set this up.
Okay.
Set us up, Leah.
The Duke of Political Incorrectness, Prince Philip and the Queen in Politics. In the decades that Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, acted as the Queen's consort, he always found ways to distinguish himself during royal visits. Prince Philip was famed for his plain speaking, as well as his witty and sometimes controversial remarks. And you probably can find it in my history.
Okay.
On YouTube. Yeah, it's going to be a Sky News one. Controversial remarks.
I get it.
He always sought to make those he spoke to, dignitaries and members of the public alike, to feel comfortable, sometimes making off-the-cuff or risque comments to show that he show those he met that they could stand easy. When discussing Tartan with the then leader of the Scottish Conservative Party, Annabel Goldie's, at a papal reception in 2010, the prince asked...
Funniest moments?
Yeah, probably.
It's... Okay.
Yeah. That's a nice tie. Do you have any knickers in that material? Speaking to wealthy locals in the Cayman Islands, he asked them, aren't most of you descended from pirates? Britain's tabloid press often leapt upon these remarks, characterizing them as gaffes. But the Duke's enduring success as a senior working royal was a testament to success of his contextual humor enjoyed by those present, but perhaps not always understood by literally minded observers from afar.
He's actually a handsome-looking chap in a lot of these pictures.
Yeah, really. Go ahead and play the video of his funny stuff.
You want the funniest stuff?
I want the funny stuff.
They're seeing these right now.
Okay.
Here's the deal. As you're watching this, just think to yourself, the Queen is married to this guy and has been for how many years? A long time, okay?
Long time.
And I'm just saying, she's got to have a sense of humor, and she probably laughs a lot.
She probably, but when she probably does.
But she has to put on the Queen exterior.
Right.
All right. Oh, we're playing this. Here we go. From the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
He spoke his mind, often shocking the public in the process, and Prince Philip will be remembered, at least in part, for his many gaffes. His off-the-cuff remarks regularly landed the Duke in hot water, causing controversy for the royal family.
The Queen's consort would concede in his early 20s that he could be rude and unmannerly. An element of the Prince's persona that would cause continuing controversy over the next 3/4 of a century of royal duties.
As a patron of the college, I give myself a very hearty welcome.
After the Dunblane massacre in 1996, when 16 children and a teacher were shot dead, the UK's deadliest mass shooting to date, Philip's argument against tighter gun control with a comparison to banning cricket bats drew outrage. Some of his off-the-cuff remarks would border on racism.
Seriously.
A visit to Beijing in 1986 was described as ghastly. The Duke warning British students based in the Chinese capital that if you stay here much longer, you'll all be slitty-eyed. A 1999 factory visit to Edinburgh saw the visit describe a fuse box as looking like it had been put in by an Indian.
Oh dear.
Australia would not be immune to a Duke jibe when on a tour of Queensland in 2002. He asked an Indigenous leader if they still threw spears at each other. But the Prince
they're
would
not
always
dressed in
maintain he
clothing.
was just being himself. And he
It's
was
a
never
joke.
shy of having a shot at those who kept watch on him. Even actor Kate Blanchett would feel the whip of the Prince's wit when asked to inspect the connections of a DVD player as she worked in the film industry.
And I can't work out whether I put the green cord in or the red cord.
But in one part of the world, the Prince could do no wrong. In Vanuatu, Philip was hailed the son of a mountain spirit who would return after marrying a powerful woman. Following the royal visit there in 1974, Philip was deemed to be that spirit and honoured with a hunting club called a Nal Nal, as befitting a living god, not just a royal. Mike Dalton, 9 News.
There you go.
He sounds like a funny guy.
He does sound like a funny
During
guy.
his more than 6 decades in service, Prince Philip had become an expert at opening ceremonies and sought ways to make the otherwise dry occasions interesting, such as during a visit to Canada in 1969 when he stated, "I declare this thing open, whatever it is." While at Hertfordshire University in 2003, opening a new campus, which architecturally saw whole building sides open as giant windows, the Duke of Edinburgh said, "During the Blitz, a lot of shops had their windows blown in and put up notices saying, 'More open than usual. I now declare this place more open than usual.'"
That's really good. So now wait, stop. Because this is where I want to reiterate what I said earlier. Can you just imagine the Queen? Y'all people know people like this, okay? She's married to this guy.
This stand-up
so you
comic.
kind of wonder, like, what is she like behind closed doors? Like,
know.
I mean, is she like furious at him for
Dude,
acting
I
this
would
way? Or
love
is
for
she...
her to just pull some jokes.
Oh my god.
The Duke was also famously down to earth and was known to don a cap and drive his black cab in disguise through London.
They were married for 75
But
years.
it seems at
74
times
years.
that his life was not as rustic as he may have liked, bemoaning in 1987 I never saw any home cooking. All I get is fancy stuff. Bugger the table plan. Give me my dinner, he said at a party in 2004. And after a long day in 2000, after meeting with Italian Prime Minister Giuliano Amato, he rejected a glass of wine, saying, I don't care what kind it is, just give me a beer. He was also frank in matters of taste, saying of plans of his own son, Prince Andrew's, and the Duke of York's house in 1988, it looks like a tart's bedroom. I think that's a prostitute. I think that, yeah.
Okay.
Though also never afraid to make fun of himself, saying on turning 90 in 2011, bits are beginning to drop off. Prince Philip was a loving family man, and parallels have been drawn between the Duke and his only daughter, Princess Anne, for their dry wit and commitment to service. The prince has said of his no-nonsense daughter's love of horses in 1970, if it doesn't fart or eat hay, she isn't interested.
Get out.
Of the 1974 IRA kidnap attempt made against his strong-willed daughter, if the man had succeeded in abducting Anne, she would have given him a heck of a time while in captivity. Prince Philip was a devoted husband who deeply appreciated his wife, saying on marriage in 1997, you can take it from me that the Queen has the quality of tolerance in abundance. No matter how outrageous the remarks, the Duke of Edinburgh always managed to get away with it. Prince Philip said in 1956 of his mannerisms, it's my custom to say something flattering to begin with, so I may be excused if I put my foot in it later. I'm wondering if he was the one who might have said the offhand remark of, I wonder what color, how dark your baby will be.
Oh, yeah, that would make sense. That would actually make a lot of sense. And then at that point, you're kind of like, so you guys know we talk about Uncle Jack. He's our uncle that lives here, and he has two sons. Yeah. Now, their grandmother on their mom's side, her name was Mary Jane.
Oh, dear.
Now, we were at a funeral.
Yeah.
Not Mary Jane's funeral. She's since passed away. Okay.
Yeah, she was alive.
We were at a
the
funeral, and she said to me, she said, Michelle, what did she say? I hate you. She said, Michelle, I hate you. I've known Mary Jane since I was born. Okay. She was a very crass, short little woman. And I said, oh, really?
She wasn't really a little woman.
Mary Jane, why is that? She goes, because you're so skinny. Now, it was a backhanded compliment. But there was an element of truth to what she was saying. She was literally sitting there with kind of going, You know what I mean? But I'm going to turn it into a compliment. Like, and she smoked for years. So she kind of had that raspy voice. Okay.
She would say all
kinds
of
she
stuff.
would say stuff, and everybody knew. Like her grandsons, our cousins that are like our brothers, Jason and Jeremy, they're always just like, because if you took her anywhere, if you took anyone around her, you were just like, I don't know what she's going to say. You're ready to apologize. And you just kind of had to roll with it, right? He reminds me kind of a little bit of a Mary Jane.
But there's actually like a really interesting twist to him because he was a gentleman. And if you bring up Barry's message, I don't know, to me or to you, he one of our viewers had several run-ins with the prince.
You're kidding. I
haven't
gotten to my messages, Barry.
And he actually spoke with him, not knowing he was the prince.
Oh, that's cool.
And actually, he was swearing around the females in his family, and he asked him to stop. So go ahead, right there. Yeah.
All right. Barry.
No. That's the one. It'll go up.
Okay.
That's a different one. Keep going.
Barry, how do you even send us this much stuff?
Okay, there we go.
All right.
Nigel made me laugh.
And let's see.
Nigel made me laugh and think of the time I met Prince Philip for the first time.
Sorry. I was 16 and at Brighton and Hove Horse Show, the Brighton and Hove Horse Show, and driving championships. We were actually sitting less than 20 feet from Philip, Charles, and the two boys, Wills and Harry. No actual police, or I didn't notice them anyway, but Philip, being Philip, was swearing like a trooper with F-bombs, etc., etc. So I literally walked up to him, tapped him on the shoulder, and told him off for swearing in front of my mother and the other women in the vicinity, not realizing who I was talking to at the time until I had it pointed out to me afterwards. He graciously turned around to me, apologized, then looked behind him, and then said, "I'm sorry if I've offended you, madam," and to my mother, and then promptly changed his language to be more polite. With absolutely no malice at all, I met him at various games fairs I've been to, during the course of my work. I remember him for his humor at the times I've had the pleasure of meeting him in the past. It's such a big loss to the world.
I just thought that was such an amazing story, you know, that Barry's like, just stop swearing. And the fact that he said he was polite. He didn't snap back. And he was just said, I'm sorry, you know. So go ahead and, while he mentions the Nigel interview, Nigel was on Fox and Friends. So you can, it's the second video from the left.
Hang on, I'm going to get it.
Let's hear it, Nigel, yeah.
All right.
Brexit Party leader. He joins us as well. Nigel, as Benjamin just said, you know, he's been alive all of our lives, and for so much of Great Britain, he has been like that country, that Commonwealth's grandfather.
Yes, that's absolutely right. I mean, you've got to be over 70, well over 70, to remember a time when Prince Philip wasn't prominent in public life. Remember, the Queen acceded to the throne in 1952, and that's when he became her consort, and he's performed this incredible public role for nearly 70 years. I mean, it's unbelievable just to think about it. Indeed, the first Prime Minister when the Queen came to the throne was indeed Winston Churchill. So this span of history from immediate post-Second World War until today is astonishing. And you know something? I was privileged to meet him several times. And the human quality that he had was a tremendous sense of mischief, a tremendous sense and a sense of fun. And I know when someone's died.
What does that mischief thing mean, Nigel?
He was ever so good at teasing people. He was very good at saying things that weren't politically correct.
And you had a lot in common.
Well, I'll tell you a story. So the monarchy, of course, has to be above politics, and that's very important. I was invited to Buckingham Palace for a drinks reception in 2000, and I'd, a few months before, been elected as an MEP. So there were about 30 of us invited to this drinks party. So you line up, and you're introduced to the Queen, and you bow and do your stuff and talk to the Queen. And then I was introduced to the Duke of Edinburgh, and he said to me, he said, yes, he said, you're that MEP chap, aren't you? And I said, Your Highness, I am. I said, but I have to be honest with you and tell you that though I'm a member of the European Parliament, I'm not a fan of the European Union institutions. And he looked at me and said, I quite understand. Now that sort of summed up, really, Philip, that he played within the rules. He served, I mean, duty was the word that is carved right through his entire career, indeed his life. And yet, there was always that slightly impish human side to him. And that's why people loved him. And, he leaves behind people mourning, not just in the United Kingdom, but don't forget that for nearly 70 years, he and the Queen relentlessly toured the Commonwealth, over 50 countries, 2.5 billion people living within it, and there'll be much mourning and sadness in Australia, Africa, many, many other, in India, all over the world. This man is going to be greatly missed.
So, Nigel, what's your take? What is your take?
This is going to be a random observation. As you get older, you have to gain weight. Do you notice the difference? He loses weight. He loses his face. He looks like a skeleton. He looks scary, actually, kind of like a haunted house. But the Queen, she you fill it out, right? And she looks young and spry at like 90.
Yeah.
You got it. Here's the thing. This is the key to you guys. You
key
suffer
to the fountain of youth.
Your whole life, you want to lose weight, and as you get older, your taste buds kind of wane, your appetite wanes. But the Queen knows you want to look young. You got to fill it in, which means you got to gain some weight.
It doesn't mean you have to be obese. You got to find that fine line of being pleasantly plump.
It's hard to be obese at like 80 or 90. Like,
It is actually.
because you don't like if you were going to be obese, you would have
Right.
probably died before that.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scene with Meghan and Harry, and the allegations
even know
of
any 89
making those
obese people.
the race-related comments and the ripple effect overseas. How do you think? There's some reports that he was very angry about it, even though he was recovering from a hospital visit. What do you hear?
So I spoke to, just before the Meghan and Harry interview aired, I was in London and I met face to face one of the royal correspondents for one of our big broadcasters, okay? And I said, come on, off the record, what's the situation?
I was going to give it back on the record.
He said, look, we all know he's on his last legs. He isn't going to make it very long. It's very unlikely that he's going to get to June the 10th, which would, of course, have been his 100th birthday. So it was well known that Philip only had a few weeks to live. And yet, despite that, despite the fact the Queen must have, and she'd never show it in public, but the Queen must have been in a state of deep distress. Despite all of that, they proceeded to do an interview at which they attacked effectively the older members of the royal family, indeed did their best to threaten the very institution itself. And
pretty much attacked the grandfather.
Today is the day that Philip has died. I won't use the words about Meghan and Harry that I would like to. I'll be gentle and say it was deeply disrespectful.
Nigel, how do you think the Queen will fare? I know she's such a strong person, and we may never know because she's so private, but they were together for 73 years, and every movie or every book we've read that portrays their love, she was madly in love with him from day one.
Oh, I think that's right. I mean, she married a slightly older man. He was a World War II hero, a very handsome. I mean, look at the pictures of the young Prince Philip, a very, very handsome young man. And I think, he was her hero, and there he was by her side, for all of those years in public, in full public view for almost 70 years. It's going to be a terrible blow.
That's a huge commitment.
It is.
The Queen's father, George VI, our wartime leader with Churchill, he died very young. He died at 56. And there she was, a young girl, suddenly thrust into this role. And she dealt with the grief by getting on with public service. And, the Queen, she is this most astonishing woman.
Interesting.
And despite her personal hurt,
Scruffy.
I just know she can go on being our Queen in the magnificent way that she's done.
Yeah. Nigel, in the fallout after the Oprah interview with Meghan and Harry,
they're so stuck on that. Can we just talk about Prince Philip?
Who said, we really shouldn't be funding the royal family. Maybe it's the end of the royal family. I think ultimately, that was a conversation a few weeks ago. I think now, given the retrospective of his life and everything else, I think there's going to be great nostalgia for this man and the family.
Oh, absolutely. And I think when people see the tributes pouring in from all over the world, and especially from our Commonwealth, which the Queen is the head of and which Philip played such a big role in, people will realise what a big deal the British monarchy is. I think the other thing that will happen, and I'm going to predict this, is that when people realise, as I've just said to you, that it was known for the last many weeks that he was at death's door, when people realise that Meghan and Harry went ahead with that interview, regardless, throwing around unjustified allegations, I have a feeling that public opinion in terms of Meghan and Harry is going to go down very, very fast.
Does Harry show up?
Well, I think he has to because it's his grandfather, and I think it would be wrong for him not to. I expect they'll be there. I suspect it'll be very difficult. As for the funeral itself, well, when the Queen Mother died back in 2001, there was a service in Westminster Abbey, and the cortege went out to Windsor for a private burial. And 1 million people, 1 million people, lined that route and paid their respects. And this is a real problem for the government, for Boris Johnson and for the royal household, because I know that huge numbers of people, because it isn't just the older generation, there is a thing called the Duke of Edinburgh Award Scheme that millions of school children do. He connects with all generations, and I think the country will want somehow to show its respect. And whether we're able to have, a socially distanced 25-mile journey where people can line the route, these are very big decisions.
It's something they do there.
That need taking in the next few days. But certainly the country will want to show its respect.
Nigel, thanks for being with us.
That was an excellent interview, and I'm so glad that that they did that, and Leah, that you had that played, because Nigel is able to give us he's kind of that go-between where you're going to get the truth between, the royals, even though he didn't know them very well, but he knows more than we do. Like, he can talk to the correspondents and stuff. And I think that he hit the nail on the head when he said, I predict that as we move forward and people recognize that Harry and Meghan went ahead with that interview,
knowing their grandfather
knowing
was
that
dying.
he was dying,
they were pretty much throwing him under the bus. If anybody were saying or being racist or rude, it would be his jokes or things like that. That Meghan is a witch. Like, she is a witch, and this spell. And I'm
gonna read a couple comments before we move on.
Yeah, please.
Sean says, yes, Michelle, he was a commander just like you. Thank you, Sean. He was very funny in these politically correct times. A lot of people don't like it, but I thought he was a hoot. And yes, a tart is a hooker. Leslie says, he and Diana must have gotten along, ? I would imagine so, just from what we've heard of Diana. I don't know a whole lot about her, because it's hard to believe what you read and everything. But
would you bring up the Breitbart article of the life of Prince Philip, a timeline? Just kind of go over it.
Yeah,
I'll go read some comments.
Barry says, the Queen took the throne of England at the age of 25. Harry won't be welcomed back in the UK very well because of this situation with the Duke of Edinburgh. Like, he pretty much, they were throwing him under the bus. So it's kind of all over that. So then, like, do you show back up for the funeral?
I know.
I kind of, like, they think he'll be there. I don't know anything. I would be like, I don't think they're coming. I wouldn't. But
who will become the new head of state once the Queen passes? That would be
excellent question, Dale. That would be Prince Charles.
Yeah.
Which is kind of scary. We would be in a kind of a Joe Biden situation. Granted, the king or queen is not the president of the UK.
I have
you have a parliament and a prime minister.
I have an interesting theory.
Okay.
That the butting of the heads that we kept hearing about, that were like rumored, like I have Yahoo News that I have to read every once in a while, and it would always be like Meghan and Kate, and they would be arguing, and then like the publicist would come out and say it's fake news. And at one point, even it's reported Prince Charles says, you work it all out. But it wasn't like, you can see that it wasn't Kate. That Meghan Markle was being like a witch.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay?
Yeah.
And that Kate would just get along with anybody. Okay?
Probably.
And so I have this theory that like Prince Harry and Markle went like the whole like woke route. But I have a feeling that like, we all kind of, I don't know if you know that, if you've noticed this, like in families where they have different children, like they'll take on the aspects of their parents or their grandparents in two different mannerisms, right? And I have a feeling that Prince William and Kate would be more along the lines of the Queen and Prince Andrew in their political leanings, conservatism, anti-wokeism. So that is good news for me, because if they're arguing about the anti-wokeism. I'm guessing like maybe if William got around his granddad and thought maybe he's funny, and if his granddad is anti-European Union and the Queen is anti-European Union, and the anti-climate change and things like that, you've got these different mindsets going on. And
Here's the good news.
I really do believe that William and Kate are actually conservatives.
And I think that Prince, here's the deal. When you die at 99, that means your successor is also really old. And I do not wish death on Prince Charles. I wish salvation.
Yeah.
Salvation on Prince Charles, which we could see. We could see. Okay. But he won't be on the throne for very long at all.
Exactly.
And then it would be William and Kate.
Yeah.
So one more comment, because I think this is hilarious. I have no idea if this is true or not. I just find it funny. Somebody on D Live, let's see, Freeman says, this is a quote he says from Prince Philip from August of 1988. I don't know if this is true. I'm going to read it anyway because it's funny. In the event that I am reincarnated, I would like to return as a deadly virus in order to contribute something to solve overpopulation. So I don't know if that's true or not.
All right, I'm going to go to this timeline. Prince Philip is born in 1921 on the Greek island of Corfu, the only son of Prince Andrew, younger brother of the King of Greece. His mother is Prince Alice of Battenberg, which would have been, I guess, Princess of Alice of Battenberg, which would have been the Denmark.
Oh, and earlier Barry had said that back then royals were only allowed to marry royals.
Right. Yeah.
So I guess that's kind of waned over the years.
Yeah, but like you would think that if your dad is Greek and your mom is Danish, then maybe you might not be related to whatever, you know. In 1922, the family relocates to France after Philip's brother is forced into exile. His uncle, the king, is forced to abdicate during general unrest. In 1928, Philip moves to England to live with his Mountbatten relatives. His grandfather had changed the family name from Battenberg to Mountbatten amid anti-German sentiment during World War I. In 1939, Philip joins the Royal Navy as a cadet as World War II looms. He later serves in the Indian Ocean, the Mediterranean, and the Pacific, and is promoted several times. He rises to commander in 1952, but his naval career ends shortly after because of his royal duties. In 1947, Philip's engagement to Princess Elizabeth is announced in July. They marry in November at Westminster Abbey. There's a quick turnaround there. He made the Duke of Edinburgh on. He made the Duke of Edinburgh. He became the Duke of Edinburgh on his wedding day. He made it. I don't know how you make it. Okay. In 1948, the couple's first child, Prince Charles, is born. He becomes heir to the throne 4 years later. And then in 1950, Princess Anne is born. In 1952, Elizabeth's father, King George VI, dies while she and Philip are in Africa, and she becomes queen. In 1956, Philip founds the Duke of Edinburgh's award program, which expands to more than 100 countries. It challenges young people to a series of outdoor activities designed to improve team building and fitness skills. In 1960, Andrew is born. 1964, Prince Edward is born.
How come we never hear about him?
I know. Philip's grandson, Prince William, is born to Charles and his wife in 82, and his wife, Princess Diana. William becomes second in line to the throne after his father. In 2009, Philip becomes the longest-serving royal consort in British history. In 2011, at 90, Philip says he is winding down his workload. He received successful emergency treatment for a blocked coronary artery. In 2017, Philip announces that he will no longer carry out public engagements due to his advanced age.
Yeah.
In 2019, the 97-year-old Philip is in a series of car crashes.
Serious car crash.
In a serious car crash.
We can read.
Near the Queen's Sandringham. Thank you, estate. He is not hurt, but the driver of the other car suffers a broken wrist. Philip gives up his driver's license at 97.
He was driving in that
car
crash?
Yeah, I guess it has to be. Funny. In 2021, Philip is admitted on February 16th. Philip is admitted to a London hospital where he is treated for an infection and later transferred to another where he undergoes a heart procedure. He spends a month in the hospital before being discharged on March 16th. On April 9th, Buckingham Palace officials say Prince Philip dies peacefully at Windsor Castle. There's a video where I have
the Donald Trump.
No,
because I like this. Donald Trump remembers Prince Philip, noble soul and proud spirit.
Right,
of the
Countess
Kingdom.
of Windsor. I just want you to hear how she describes to the left. That one, just how he died peacefully.
But it was right for him.
Probably people wear masks if they want to.
It was so gentle. It's just like somebody took you by the hand. Very, very peaceful. And that's all you want, somebody to do. So I think it's so much easier for the person that goes than the people that are left behind. We're all sitting here looking at each other going, this is awful. But equally, so many people are after all tributes. It's just amazing. It's, COVID is really, it's preventing people from doing what they would naturally want to do, which is coming together, which is hard. And these people do naturally want to show that they care.
You notice that they didn't have masks on? I bet they don't believe in it.
I bet they don't either.
And I'm guessing
later.
I'm guessing that, and you can go to the New York Post article all the way to the left there if you want. We'll talk about Donald Trump paying his respects here. And I'm guessing when he was discharged on March 16th, he was discharged to just die peacefully at home.
Yeah, sure.
So Trump honors Prince Philip for embodying dignity and grace. Former president, whatever you want to say. President Donald Trump on Friday hailed Prince Philip for embodying dignity and grace, saying his exceptional example of service, constancy, and patriotism will be his greatest legacy. Trump and former First Lady Melania Trump sent their deepest condolences to Queen Elizabeth II, who actually really liked Donald Trump. Okay, she really did.
Oh, she totally loved Trump. She loved
And
Trump.
could you imagine? I bet Prince Prince Philip liked Trump.
Oh, absolutely.
I bet they could banter.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And the rest of the royal family following the Dukes of Edinburgh's passing at 99. Prince Philip defined British dignity and grace. He personified the quiet reserve, stern fortitude, and unbending integrity of the United Kingdom, Trump said. He went on to chronicle Philip's time in the Royal Navy, fighting in World War II as a naval officer. Aboard battleships in the Mediterranean, he saw combat at sea. He then participated in the pivotal Allied invasion of Sicily in 1943. Like so many of his generation, in Britain's darkest hour, he put his life on the line for God, country, and the values of freedom and self-government that forever unite America and the United Kingdom. Trump also celebrated Philip's 73 years of marriage to Queen Elizabeth II, saying that as a husband, he displayed the same sense of duty and purpose as in the military. He was admired by his fellow citizens and respected by everyone around the world, Trump said. His exceptional example of service, constancy, and patriotism will be his greatest legacy. Trump added that during various trips across the pond, he and Melania got to experience how the monarchy carries on the virtues of the British people. And no one did more than Prince Philip, he said. Trump visited the Queen and Prince Philip in 2019, bringing them elaborate gifts during his 3-day visit in the UK.
Aww.
So go ahead and play. We'll end with the video here that I have from, it's 2 over. He was a climate skeptic, and there you go.
Climate change skeptic. In a letter in 2018 from the Prince to Ian Plimer, the climate expert who was on Outsiders just last week, the Duke of Edinburgh not only compliments Professor Plimer on his recent book, The Climate Change Delusion, but also praises his previous book, Heaven and Earth, which similarly questioned the missing science behind the global warming scam. Furthermore, in this letter, which Ian has kindly provided to Outsiders, the late Prince Philip, never one to mince his words, described the wind turbines now blotting landscapes across the globe as monstrosities and questioned whether they served any practical purpose. In fact, the Prince attempted to invite Professor Plimer to London to address the Royal Society of Artists on climate change back in 2010. But the invitation was disgracefully rescinded by the mandarins at Buckingham Palace for political reasons. And I quote the letter he received then from the palace. Dear Professor Plimer, I am writing to you with some disappointing news regarding the Prince Philip annual lecture on 5 May 2010. As you well know, the debate around climate change has recently become highly politically charged, both globally and especially in your home country. Equally, wrote the Mandarin, as I am sure you are aware, members of the royal family need to be scrupulous in avoiding any appearance of advocating or supporting a political stance. After discussion with Buckingham Palace, it is therefore with great regret that we must withdraw your invitation to give this year's Prince Philip lecture. What a tragedy that Ian Plimer was not allowed to make that speech as Prince Philip wanted him to. And what is extraordinary about that letter is that as well as confirming that the Prince was a big fan of Ian Plimer's, it points out that the royal family should have nothing to do with the politics of climate change, something I have said repeatedly on this show, yet today, a decade on, both future monarchs, Prince Charles and Prince William, the former in particular in advocating the Great Reset and embracing Greta Thunberg, and the latter in his fondness for Sir David Attenborough, are in climate politics up to their eyeballs. Prince Philip, now that he's finally in his grave, will surely spend a great deal of the years ahead spinning in it.
Oh my gosh. That
All
was
right.
really good.
So, if you want to just play the next video over, we're going to talk a little bit about how Brexit has caused some unrest in Northern Ireland, and this week, in the past couple of days, we've seen some violence break out between Northern and Southern Ireland here.
Worst violence Northern Ireland has seen in years. Pro-British loyalists have been rioting every day for a week, angry about post-Brexit issues. But more than 20 years since the Good Friday Agreement, is peace at risk in Northern Ireland? This is Inside Story.
And I would actually play some other places, but like Channel 4 censors us, but so we can't.
And now, in the aftermath of the UK's departure from the EU, the situation has got worse and threatens to derail that agreement. Pro-British loyalists say the post-Brexit trade agreements threaten Northern Ireland's place in the UK, while Irish nationalists accuse them of using the issue to stoke trouble. Dozens of police officers have been hurt in a week of riots, prompting regional and international governments to appeal for calm. It's a complicated issue that we'll break down with our guests shortly. First, this report from Andrew Simmons in Belfast.
The situation is tense, nothing like it has been on Wednesday and Thursday night at this stage, but this can build. The loyalists saying that they want to have a calm out of respect, but this problem still persists. There is a whole round of speculation about some sort of suspension, but they're ignoring calls from the Assembly, the Northern Ireland Assembly, to stop this whole protest movement, and they're saying there can't be any peace right now because of Brexit, because of the situation they're in over imports, exports, the whole bureaucracy of importing goods from Britain, and this place being really a part of the European Union now with the border in the Irish Sea. So the Brexit is meant to be the central issue, but there are other complications, like always in Northern Ireland. There's more behind the story. There's a situation where a funeral a year ago took place. A prominent IRA member, Bobby Storey, and at that funeral, something like 2,000 Sinn Féin supporters gathered, and at the end of it all, the unionists said this was in breach of COVID regulations and prosecutions should have been made across the board, particularly at the senior Sinn Féin leadership there. That didn't take place. Arlene Foster has now called for the resignation of the Chief Constable, and that has not. As you can see, everyone's reliant on the security forces, but right now they're under fire from the politicians themselves. So it's by no means a secure situation here.
Let's take a closer look at the rift between the Protestant loyalists who want to remain part of the UK and the Catholic nationalists who want to unite with Ireland. The latest violence has drawn comparisons to the Troubles, the 3-decade conflict between the two sides that killed at least 3,600 people. The conflict ended in 1998 when a power-sharing government was set up under the so-called Good Friday Agreement. But there have been occasional attacks on security forces and sectarian street violence. And the Belfast administration collapsed in 2017 and remained suspended for more than 2 years. It resumed work at the start of 2020, but deep mistrust remains on both sides about cultural and political issues, including the status of the Irish language.
Okay, you can stop that there. I'm actually curious to hear your comments on this. I'm not there. I only have read about it and heard about the tensions between supposedly Catholics and Protestants, but we know this is not a religious war. This is a political, ideological.
Well, Barry says, Leah, this violence is in the city of Belfast in Northern Ireland's Shankill Road, not on the border of Northern Ireland and the ROI. It is loyalist, Protestant, and Republican Catholic factions living in Belfast who are rioting.
And the question is why? What's the deal here? I do know that Boris kind of backed out. He was not supposed to have a border, a hard border in the sea. Mm-hmm. And I guess there's a border in the sea.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you do that because we've got people coming over from France. You'd think there'd be a border in the sea with France. which there is. But migrants can come over it and it's not a problem. So what's the problem? The migrants can, it's a sea, man, right? So tell me a little bit more in your comments about that. And let's see.
Hang on, let's turn this on if you're going to play something.
No, I'm not. You can. I'm trying to find the right one I want to play.
Okay.
I think they're over here. I think
there was some comments in the comment section from a couple of you guys. Knowledge question, Gino, about Prince Philip and him burning in the lake of fire because of pedophilia. No. You're thinking of Prince Andrew. You're thinking of Prince Andrew and Epstein.
Their son.
Now, I can't speak to their son, but I haven't heard anything to the effect of Prince Philip having been involved in anything.
I would
like
say
that.
this. They didn't do anything about their son.
That's true.
You can go ahead and play it's on the right. Northern Ireland riots rage for the 8th night. There's Sky News. There you go.
Well, violence continues into the 8th day across Northern Ireland. It's the worst violence the nation has seen in recent years as tensions rise from Brexit and pro-Irish nationalist communities.
In the firing line for an 8th consecutive night, but attacks on police were contained to 1 or 2 interfaces. With young people doing most of the rioting, it was always going to be difficult to restore calm in Belfast. Prayers on the peace line. Catholic and Protestant church leaders stood together in opposition to the street violence tearing communities apart. In flashpoint areas, these signs were erected, loyalist leaders calling for the postponement of protests as a mark of respect. Young activists like Moore Holmes regard themselves as the most loyal subjects of the Crown.
The loyalist community and many within it are angry at the Northern Ireland Protocol, and that's completely understandable and completely justified. But I think there is a mood within the loyalist community this evening that tonight is not a night for protest. It's a night for mourning. It's a night to pay respect and to pay homage to an incredible individual.
Tributes from unionists are one thing, from Republicans another altogether. 40 years after the IRA murdered Lord Mountbatten, Prince Philip's uncle, Sinn Féin paid respects to the royal family.
So I want to offer my condolences to the Queen, Elizabeth, in regards to the death of her husband. Also to all those people in this community who come from the unionist tradition or indeed have a British identity. I want to again extend my condolences to all you, because I'm quite sure that you felt this loss more significantly, maybe perhaps than others.
It comes in a week when police deployed water cannon against rioters here for the first time in 6 years. Northern Ireland has witnessed the worst violence in a long time as tension over the Brexit protocol reached boiling point. At a time when loyalists feel their British identity is under threat, not to mention the status of Northern Ireland as part of the United Kingdom, a conciliatory statement on the death of Prince Philip from the leader of republicanism at Stormont is hugely significant. On both sides, there are those acknowledging the Duke of Edinburgh's interest in Northern Ireland. He visited 56 times. Given the Queen's own role in peace building here, the death of her husband provides a moment for all to reflect.
Okay, so I guess it's a pretty big deal for the Republican Irish leaders to be giving condolences, because I guess they pretty much spit on Britain. But yeah, so
Northern Ireland,
the Ireland,
oh yeah,
and then Northern Ireland. Ireland is a country, by the way.
I know.
Okay, Northern Ireland is part of the UK.
Part of the UK.
Okay, so I think it says that tensions also broke out when there was nobody charged with alleged breaches of COVID regulations at an IRA funeral that sparked this unionist outrage. And I think that if that is the case, then people are just tired of COVID.
Yeah.
They're tired of the lockdowns.
Absolutely.
They're tired of you not being charged with stuff and you being charged with stuff and things like that. So speaking of Britain's Britons will be forced to pay for COVID tests to go on holiday, to go on vacation. So people in England can start thinking about foreign holidays, the transport minister said. Isn't this great?
You can.
However, there will be mandated COVID tests and potentially costly quarantining on return from higher coronavirus risk nations. Transport Secretary Grant Shapps told the BBC on Friday that international travel for holidays could resume no earlier than May 17th, and that terms for holidaymakers returning, whether they need to self-isolate at home or quarantine at a hotel, would be dependent on where the nation is classified in the government's new traffic light system. Mr.
What are you,
Shapps
children, traffic
told
light?
Radio 4's Today program, "This is the first time I'm able to come on and say I'm not advising against booking foreign holidays. Yes, you'll want to check that what the situation is in 2 or 3 weeks' time when that list, the green, the amber, the red, is produced. You'll want to know that you've got a good holiday insurance and flexible flights and the rest of it. In the following weeks, the government will categorize holiday destination nations from green to red, with red countries requiring the harshest restrictions for re-entry. Those arriving from green list nations may not need to self-isolate on their return to the UK. However, they will need to take a test before departure and a PCR test on their return. And if positive, travelers will have to isolate. They are estimated £120 per person. And so a family of 4, that would be an estimated cost of £500 extra to go on holiday.
Are you going to talk about Chile?
Oh, so in Chile, there's such a lockdown there that you can only leave the house twice a week for 2 hours, and you have to prove that you're going to the grocery store, and
Or
you can
something
and you can
super
only
essential.
buy essential things online. Even
Like the government is limiting what you can and cannot purchase.
Right.
I
online.
told Leah, I said, that is amazing that a country in South America can lock them down so tight, but they can't keep immigrants from coming up the border. I mean, come on.
I know.
Seriously?
Pub landlords fear penalties if customers don't wear masks outside. Some overzealous local councils have reportedly ordered drinkers to wear masks in pub gardens, going beyond government reopening guidelines, with landlords worried they might be penalized for perceived breaches of the rules. Under the next phase of reopening, England, following the third lockdown, outdoor hospitality venues may open from Monday, meaning that many pubs will take advantage of their beer gardens to reinvigorate their businesses. Government guidelines only mandate mask wearing indoors, such as when you go inside the pub to pay or to use the toilets. But some in hospitality industry have told The Telegraph that they have been told by local councils that mask rules apply outside in the beer gardens.
Stop it.
It's just insane. I can't even.
Oh my gosh. So yesterday we had to go shopping. I dislike shopping, especially for shoes, with a heel. But we did it, and it's important. But while we were in a store, a department store, it's like giant discount. I can just say the business. Dillard's. Okay? It's like a big discount of Dillard's. We both had the same coat on. It was a rain jacket, and we kind of looked similar, even though our hair was
The
different.
hairs on our head.
Our hairs are different. And I had a hat on, but they were both in braids. And I went in. I have just decided I'm going into stores without a mask on, and then they can tell me, right? I'm not going in. I'm not going to comply just automatically for you. Okay? You can come and tell me to put it on, and then I will, and then I'll wear it beneath my mouth. And then if it still bothers you, you can come and tell me to pull it up. Well, that is exactly what happened in Dillard's. Now, I had gone in several stores already, fine, without the mask. Nobody is saying anything. But this one guy had it out for Leah and I. Maybe because he thought we were the same person, but at least he knew we were related. Okay? So he comes and tells me, I'm on the phone with my mom, and he's like, excuse me, ma'am, do you have a mask that you can put on? And I was like, yeah, I have a mask I can put on. I'm still talking to my mom.
It's on your face.
I wasn't wearing it at the time.
Oh, you just didn't even have it on?
I didn't have it on. He's like, do you have a mask you can wear? I'm like, yeah, I got a mask you can wear. So I finished my conversation.
You went in without the mask, period?
Yes, I've been going into all the stores without the mask, period. Then you can come and tell me to put it on, and then I will wear it beneath my mouth. So I said, yes, I've got a mask I can wear. So I wait, I hang up, I put the mask on my face, and then I wear it beneath my mouth. So then I get in line to try on some clothes, and the dude, I think in between that time, he had come and told you to wear a mask, and what did he say to you?
Oh, he's like, ma'am, I need you to put your mask on, because I kind of was fiddling with it when I saw him, and he's like, I need you, I have a scarf. He's like, I need you to put your mask like all the way up. And I said, I'm trying. He goes, well, we have some really nice masks for sale up front. And I said, I really like my mask. Thank you, brother. I really like my mask because it's sheer and you don't have to block your
You
air
like your
breathing.
mask because it never actually covers your mouth. Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So then he comes to me in line and he's like, excuse me, ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to keep your mask up. So I pull it up to here beneath my nose. And then he's like, above your nose. He did this. Above your nose, please. And so I laughed and I'm smiling and I put it above my nose. And he's like, you need to keep everybody safe. It's just for keeping everybody safe. You have to keep everybody. I think he said keep everybody safe like 3 times as he's walking away. And everybody there is really uncomfortable. And the 2 people in front of me, the woman was in line to get in the dressing room and her husband was outside of the line kind of watching golf on his cell phone. And they both have masks on, but they were just like shaking their heads like this whole thing is so ridiculous. It's so stupid. So I leaned into her and I said, it's a fake mask. I got it online. And she's like, oh, really? And she looked at it. But if you don't, it's sheer. It's completely sheer. It's from the fake mask people, whatever. I don't know the website. And, but it made the dude feel better that I had on the fake mask that is not going to stop a virus any more than his mask, but definitely not at all. Okay. Because it's got the giant sheer holes in it, but it made him feel better that I pull it up over my nose like that. This whole thing is ridiculous. It's all for show. It's about, here's the deal. It is not about wearing a mask to stop the virus. This is what it's about. It goes back to the public school mindset. You are not following the rules.
So I'm going to interrupt here real quick because we're still on YouTube. And they took down Ron DeSantis' roundtable for talking about masks.
Okay.
So I actually have an amazing video for you by Dr. Kelly Victory is her name.
Right.
So I'm going to say goodbye to YouTube at the end of the show, and you're going to understand.
At the end of what show?
At the end of towards the end of our show.
Okay.
We're going to say goodbye to YouTube.
Okay.
And I'm going to play this video for the
Okay.
end of what show?
Usually we do half of YouTube. So you were saying at the end of the show, and I didn't know, usually we do like a half a show. We're going to do the whole show on YouTube, and at the end of the whole show,
I guess.
we will say
I said
goodbye
towards
to YouTube.
the end of the show.
Okay.
Okay, we have more to cover.
But you want to
minute.
stick around for that.
Yeah. In a minute. And I have an amazing video you guys are not going to want to miss.
What were we talking about?
I don't know. The beer gardens and everything outside.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
I think I should, on YouTube, at least be allowed to say that mask wearing outside.
You should be.
You
It's
should be,
mostly
but who
not
knows?
necessary.
Outside. Seriously? Outside.
So do you guys remember when Salvini was supposedly under investigation because he quarantined. There was he standed on
what?
Okay, he standed. In 2019,
okay,
he kept migrants aboard a Coast Guard ship, and he was under investigation for kidnapping. And an Italian prosecutor on Saturday told a court in Sicily that there's no reason to order right-wing leader Matteo Salvini to stand trial for alleged kidnapping for his role in keeping rescued migrants aboard a Coast Guard ship for days in the summer of 2019. Prosecutor Andre Bonomo recommended at a preliminary hearing in Catania that Salvini was carrying out government policy when he kept 116 migrants aboard the Italian Coast Guard vessel the Gregorati off the coast of Sicily for 5 days. At the time, Salvini was in Italy's interior minister in a government headed by Premier Conte. He was adamant that other European Union nations must accept migrants who are brought to Italian shores after being rescued from human traffickers on seaworthy boats in the Mediterranean Sea and not leave Italy to deal with them alone. While Italian authorities pondered where the migrants should disembark, Gregorati, 116 people aboard who had been transferred from 2 vessels that had rescued them, a fishing boat and an Italian customs police boat, Eventually, the standoff over the Gregorati ended with when magistrates said it could dock at Augusta, Sicily, and let the passengers off. Salvini, a senator who leads the Anti-Migrant League party, has long maintained that he was simply carrying out government policy when he refused to allow disembarkment from the Gregorati. So Bonomo was quoted by the Italian news agency La Presse as saying the court, which must decide whether to indict Salvini, isn't called to decide if lengthening the stay of the migrants is morally acceptable, because the court isn't supposed to render a political judgment. All the government shared the idea that other European nations were responsible because those migrants who arrive in Italy arrive in Europe. So you've got the prosecutor basically saying, let's drop the charges.
Wow. Yeah, that is good.
Yeah.
Good. We love Salvini. I cannot wait for him to be put back into position.
So this is random news. While Japan last month marked the 10th anniversary of the devastating 2011 Tohoku earthquake and tsunami with solemn ceremonies, the government has also been stressing the success of its recovery efforts in the country's northeast. In truth, however, the country is still coping with the aftermath of Fukushima, which has already cost Japan trillions of yen and whose execution zone will require up to 40 more years to fully rehabilitate.
Wow.
And with contaminated water continuing to build up at the ruined Fukushima nuclear power plant, the Prime Minister says that the government must finally begin dumping it into the Pacific Ocean. With nuclear waste and fuel rods still contaminating the area, over 1 million tons of radioactive waste water continue to seep from the facility, according to the Japan Times, forcing authorities into what Suga describes as the unavoidable position of having to dump the water.
Wow.
Officials claim that the water could be purified to the maximum extent possible. But environmentalist groups like Greenpeace warn that the water contains hazardous material which could damage human DNA and the health of marine life. Fishermen also fear that consumers will refuse to buy fish caught in contaminated waters. Radioactive fish, sign me up.
No thanks.
Did you guys remember like all the little different plants and the weird things that grew around there? Worsening their plight amid a restriction of imports from Fukushima prefecture imposed by 15 countries and regions. Regardless, authorities argue they must deal with the cards they've been dealt with. What to do with the treated water is a task that the government can no longer put off without setting a policy. Suga is expected to formally decide on the course of the action by next Tuesday. So,
that's so weird. What are they supposed to do?
I don't know. Speaking of nuclear. Nuclear.
She's headed.
I said nuclear, and then I said whatever.
So great, you said it right.
Okay. Do you know what it bothers me when you say something about me even saying it, and I don't even want to say it? I want to say nuclear just to bother you. I don't even want to say it right.
Why? You said it right, and it made me
because
happy.
when you say that, it's like nails on a chalkboard. It bothers me.
But it
okay, I have a thing.
Inside,
I like to say
I received, when you said it correctly, I received like whatever kind of neurons that go ding, 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 like
and then
that.
when you receive those neurons, I received the negative ones back at me.
Only because I acknowledged it?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay. Next time I won't let my neurons come out my mouth.
Don't say anything. It bothers me that it makes you happy.
Okay, I won't say anything when it bothers me happy. I will keep it inside like this.
I say nuclear, I say nuclear, I say whatever, okay? It's just, a bunch of people say it 100 different, well, basically people say it 2 different ways.
So what's going on with this nuclear
winter?
winter?
It looks like nuclear winter at St. Vincent, island of St. Vincent, awaits the next volcano expulsion. So one day after a powerful eruption at La Sulfuri volcano in the Eastern Caribbean, flung a massive column of ash more than 33,000 feet high. Geologists warn perhaps a much larger explosion could be nearing. And it was funny because I think it was cruise ships would only take out people who had vaccine passports, and it was
pretty bad. Yeah.
The first one might not have necessarily been the biggest one. It's possible you could have explosions that could go higher and carry plumes higher in the atmosphere than this one did, said geologist Richard Robertson. So go over here to some of these videos.
What's this picture?
And
wait a minute.
No, that's not the one we want. We want
what's this image we're looking at here?
That's the ash.
That's the ash.
How far the ash?
Okay, how bad the ash is. So the red zone, That's what they're calling the red zone.
Yeah, so the red zone,
there.
and then you can see, I don't know how far.
But obviously it doesn't stop like at the edge of the...
Yeah, so scroll down, we'll see some pictures and then you can watch the video.
Let me click on these because I want to make these
Yeah,
big.
so since the early morning eruption on Friday covered homes, cars, streets, and with heavy ash, conditions are worsening on the island and surrounding islands. You can scroll down the north coast.
Wait a minute, we're still looking at pictures.
Yeah, it just says insane. How do you clean that?
Those look like charcoal briskets.
What do you do? Like, how do you clean that? How do you still live there? Do you still live there? Like, what happens here? What happens now?
How do you clean
Like, this is every bad movie ever.
Like, a shop vac is not going to cut it.
No.
It is just not.
It doesn't melt. It's not snow.
What they need to do is people will have to sweep it all to the road, and then they'll just have to have like trucks coming in,
Yeah, there's a video underneath. North coast of Barbados falls into darkness at noon due to the volcano eruption.
Snow.
It looks like a nuclear winter.
Are the birds chirping?
Oh.
The birds are chirping.
Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves was quoted by a local radio station on how to remove the ash. It's difficult to breathe, he said. What goes up must come down. In late December, there were prospects of the upcoming activity of this volcano that it was going to go. And then Friday morning, it says
look at all you can't get. I don't know if you guys can see how big.
Looks like
there. It's all covered.
This is by Zero Hedge. So Zero Hedge was the first to report Friday morning.
This is amazing.
That it erupted.
And it would have landed all in that water, too. Oh, my gosh. That's crazy.
The plume was so large, it was captured on satellite imagery and was visible from space. The ash forced the cancellation of several flights as thousands evacuated via cruise ships. Barbados, Antigua, they're all the surrounding islands here, offering evacuees arriving via Carnival and Royal Caribbean cruise ships a safe place to wait out the volcanic event. So go over here. I think I have a video up. Volcano erupts over here. Second from there. I think that's it. Let me start from the beginning.
Evacuation orders have been issued when a volcano erupted on the Caribbean island of St Vincent. Around 4,500 residents near the volcano have left their homes. They've been given temporary accommodation on cruise ships and other parts of the island. Heavy falls of ash have stopped some evacuation efforts. It's been more than 40 years since the volcano erupted, costing almost $100 million in damage. Authorities predict it could be up to 4 months before evacuees can return home.
Whoa, that's crazy. Now, about those cruise ships, though.
I think there's one more to the right.
You were telling me yesterday that the cruise ships were only allowing people on there that...
Now to the race to escape that erupting volcano in the Caribbean. Thousands evacuating as ash rains down on the island of St. Vincent. 4 cruise ships rushing in to help take people to safety. Here's ABC's Julia McFarlane.
Tonight, the idyllic Caribbean island of St. Vincent covered in ash. Eerily empty after thousands of people told to evacuate immediately.
Me can't take it no more, I have to run. I have to move now.
The long dormant La Soufrière volcano.
So would a hurricane help now? Just to kind of blow it and clean it away?
Yeah.
Or would it just create just a big mess? If the wind came first, it would be... It's the only time you'd want a hurricane.
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know either.
I think it would stain everything. Ooh. You would want to sweep it.
I don't know. Okay.
Volcano erupting Friday.
Oh my goodness.
Spouting columns of smoke and ash more than 6 miles skyward. Now fears that rain may cause the superheated ash in the air to harden into rock.
The ashfall itself, if it gets wet, it forms like a cement type of texture.
Luxury yachts and cruise ships being repurposed to transport evacuees. The Prime Minister of St. Vincent thankful for help from neighbouring islands today, saying we are one Caribbean family. With experts warn that even bigger eruptions could still be in store. This could go on for months.
Still a concern for a lot of people there.
Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy.
That concrete bit she
Lord
mentioned there.
Have mercy.
So that
well,
answers
you
your
you think about
thing.
Pompeii and the people like frozen in time.
Whoa.
Right? That was when the volcano came down. But
yeah.
like now you got to be worried not just of like the ash.
If you're
but, like,
covered in ash, don't stand still and get wet.
That's probably,
You know what I saw yesterday? Commercial break. We were in a store. It's a discount store. But still, they had a baby section. I think it was in Burlington Coat Factory. In the baby section, they have a baby body cast. It is not for the baby. It's for the mother to cast the shape of her body when she is pregnant to keep it. Like when you put your hand, like make a handprint or a footprint or something like that. So you can just always keep this. Can you imagine that thing?
That's why it's
sitting in a closet, right? Or you showing that to your child because it does like the chest area too. Like, here's my body when you were in it, and you should pass that down to your children. It's the shape of my belly when you were in it. It's creepy. I'm telling you what, there are inventions that I think to myself, I wish I had invented that because I'd be rich. And then there are inventions that go, thank God I'm not that stupid.
Oh, dear God.
A baby body cast. If you have done that and you are watching our show, I'm going to pray for you. I'm going to pray for you. That is just one of those things. That is just one of those things that I just feel like is...
Okay, if there's any comments from the YouTube, let's get to those because I want to cover this freely over here. And I want to show you guys a couple of videos. There's a you guys know some there's a famous boxer you guys got over there in England and the UK, and his dad made some really cool remarks, sane remarks on the lockdowns and stuff. I want to play that, and I've got a doctor who explains the use of masks, when you should use masks, when you shouldn't use masks. And I'll play that in a second.
One on YouTube.
No, that's what I'm telling you guys.
I get you.
And then we're going to kind of cover this Rebel News thing. 50 armed police raid Rebel News reporters' Airbnb, arrest them for, quote, illegal gathering. So a bunch of reporters go to an Airbnb because they're covering the persecution in Montreal, I believe, of one of their reporters. And I'm going to give you the punchline of this is that these reporters, they start heckling.
Is
they
that
start
Ezra?
going, yeah, they start heckling. They start going back and forth. One of the reporters is like beaten. It is crazy. And at the end of it all, the judge doesn't even grant these police a warrant to shut them down, and they have to leave them alone.
No
But
way.
it's like a 24-hour like standoff.
No way!
So I want to cover that freely, so we're going to get off of YouTube here.
Right
But even
now.
though it's all on YouTube, but I want to be able to kind of talk freely.
Okay, all right, here's the deal, guys. If you want to, if you're on YouTube, I have put the link. I'm going to put it again in the comment section here, and I'll put it in the description as well. Even if you're watching this after the fact on YouTube and you want to finish the show, this is the link to our website. You can go to resistancechicks.com, but this is the link to today's show where you'll be able to finish it. So we love you guys on YouTube. Please come with us because this is when the show actually starts to get good. If
Gino
you liked
says,
it so far,
cast an image of Trump with his smile.
Oh my gosh, Dale says, I wish I had invented the slinky. You know, that would have been a good invention. All right, YouTube, come on now. I'm going to watch the numbers. Make sure you guys jumped over there. So you have 3 options: Twitch, Facebook, and D Live. Okay, and as of, what's today? Today's the 11th? Possibly tomorrow. Frank might come